Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. We are on lesson number 33, الدرس الثالث والثلاثين أيها الرجال. قال ابن آج الروم رحمه الله تعالى, he says what? فالماضي مفتوح الآخر أبدا. The ماضي, and why is he saying الماضي? The alif lam here, الماضي, is a reference to what he just mentioned. Al-alif lam lil-ahd al-dhikri. What I just said al-af'alu thalatha. The verbs are three. Madin wa mudari'un wa amr. They are madi, mudari, and amr. And so then he said fal-madi. So the madi then, of what I just said, madi, mudari, and amr, the madi is maftuh al-akhiri abadan. It always has a fatha on the end. Is that true? What is the madi of يضرب? ضرب. What's on the back? Fatha. طيب, works, huh? What's the ماضي of يجلس? جلس. طيب, so ضرب جلس. All right. What's the ماضي of يكمل? يكمل. كمل. كمل. So sometimes you're going to have in the past tense a dhamma on the middle letter. Kamula, tawula, and qasura, and so on, right? But notice the last letter, what is it? Kamula, la. He says, maftuh al-akhir abadan. It's always maftuh. All right. A couple more examples then, see if it always works, right? What about yadribuna? Yadribuna. What's the past? Madi. Yadribuna, lil-jama'ah. Darabu. Oh, something happened here. Look on the bat. Darabu. There's a dhamma there. Darabu. But he said al-madi. He didn't say al-madi al-mufrad. He said al-madi. All of the madi. You know, huh? No, he means al-madi, all of it. And what Ibn Ajurru means here is he means, we're going to say, fi'l madi is mabni ala al-fathi abadan, even when there's something else on it. And he's going to say, النحوي لا يخطئ. The nahwi is not mistaken. He's going to say, there is a fatha on there. You just can't see it. You just can't see it. He's going to say, ضربوا. What's the i'rab of ضربوا? He's going to say, فعل ماضي مبني على الفتح المقدر. The thing you can't see, which we're going to put it there, you know, because we believe it's there, but we're going to say it was changed to a dhamma. Mana min dhuhurihi. It's been, you can't see it. What is it? اشتغال المحل بالحركة المناسبة. Because the ba has to have a dhamma because it comes before the waw al-jama'ah, then it's been removed. So something took over. But the fatha is originally there. That's what they'll say. Others will say, other than Ibn Ajurrum from the Nuhat, from the scholars of Nahu, will say, Darabu is mabni ala dhamma. Just leave it like that. Ibn Uthaymin discusses these. You have Ibn Uthaymin's sharh.
ولكن بعض العلماء قال هو مبني على الفتح ويستثنى منه مسألتان. إذا اتصلت به واو الجماعة بني على الضم، وإذا اتصل به ضمير الرفع المتحرك بني على السكون. وهذا القول أصح، لأن هذا لا يحتاج إلى تكلف ولا يحتاج إلى تقدير.
So Ibn Uthaymin, he brought both of these and discussed them, and he said the second one's better actually. Saying it's mabni ala dhamma is better. Why do you think it's better? Ala dhamma, yeah, mabni ala dhamma. خلافا لابن آجرهم. He says al-madi maftuh al-akhir abadan. So he believes that darabu should be made i'rab of by saying mabni ala al-fatha al-muqaddara mana' min dhuhuriha al-inshighal al-mahal bil-haraka al-munasaba. That's a bit advanced for us right now, but the point is, let's just say what Ibn Ajurrum said. There's a fatha on the fi'l madi, even if it's darabtu or darabu or daraba. When it's darabtu, what's on the ba really? Darabtu. No, what's on the ba? This is sukoon. Darabtu. Darabtu. Darabtum. Darabti. What's on the ba? It's a sukoon. All right, but Ibn Ajurum is going to say fatha muqaddara. He's going to say there's a fatha there that's been changed, but the original daraba has a fatha on it. So he's going to say maftuh al-akhir abadan. Let's just leave it like that to be easy and to stick to the text of the book. Then he says wal amru majzumun abadan. The amr, fi'lu amr, idrib, is majzum. It always has a sukun at the end. So Ibn Ajurum is of the opinion that the fi'lu amr is mu'rab. You make i'rab of it, and you say fi'l amr is always majzoom. It's never marfu' or mansub. It's always majzoom. We're going to say what others have said and what the shurrah generally explain it as. While the differing is very minimal, and it's only khilaf lafzi, we're going to say it's mabni ala sukun. Because the whole point of something, if it's majzoom always and it never changes, then is that really mu'rab? Because what's i'rab? The definition of i'rab is تغيير. Yeah, it's looking at the متغيرات من العلامات and all of that. So if it's مجزوم أبدا, is it really mu'rab? If it's always مجزوم, then isn't that closer to mabni? The whole point of mabni is there's no marfu', mansub, majzum. It's always one case. So if it's majzum always and it's always with a sukun, then why don't we just call it mabni? And that's what the scholars do. They say it's mabni ala ma yujzamu bihi mudari'uhu. It's mudari' yadrib falam yadrib. In this case, it's a sukun on the ba, so they say it's mabni ala sukun. Mabni ala ma yujzamu bihi mudari'uhu. That requires us to know the mudari' and how we're going to do the majzoom, what kind of thing would come and make it majzoom. And that's our next two lessons, actually. That's not for today. So it's going to require us to come back to that point. That fi'lu amr is mabni ala ma yujzamu bihi mudari'uhu. We'll come back to that after lesson number 36. Number 36. At the end of lesson 36, we'll review that point because then we'll know what it means for a fi'l mudari' to be majzoom. That will make sense then to say that the fi'lu amr is mabni ala ma yujzamu bihi mudari'uhu. If we don't know what the mudari' majzoom really is or what makes it majzoom, that's not going to really give us a lot of benefit to say that right now. The author then says, وَالْمُضَارِعُ مَا كَانَ فِي أَوَّلِهِ إِحْدَى الزَّوَائِدِ الْأَرْبَعِ التي يجمعها قولك أنيت. And so the mudari' is the verb, and he switches from the i'rab. The i'rab of the madi is mabni, مفتوح الآخر أبدا. It's mabni al-fath. وَالْأَمْرُ مَجْزُومٌ أبدا, meaning it's always with a sukun or ما ينوب عنه. And then al-mudari' ما كان في أوله إحدى الزوائد الأربع, that which has one of the four letters in the beginning of the verb. From your statement أنيت, that means a, nun, ya, ta. Alif, nun, ya, ta. One of those four must be in the beginning of a fi'l mudari'un. وهو مرفوع أبدا. Then he gives it the i'rab. وهو مرفوع أبدا حتى يدخل عليه ناصب أو جازم. It's marfu' by default. He says abadan, and it's kind of stretching the way you use the word abadan, because it is not really even the ghalib. It's just by default. The default rule is marfu'. So yajlis, yani zaydun yajlis. If you just bring yajlis, you shouldn't think it should be yajlisa or yajlis with a sukun. It should be yajlisu until you have a reason why it's not marfu'. So it's marfu' by default. And the alamatul raf' in the fi'l mufrad would be yajlisu. It would be a dhamma. إلا أن يكون معتلا الآخر. Unless it's معتل الآخر, then it would be like يقضي. In that case, it's got a dhamma مقدرة, but not dhamma ظاهرة. حتى يدخل عليه ناصب أو جازم. So here, this is the point of Ibn Ajurum. فعل مضارع. This is our focus. فعل أمر, he dismisses it because it's always majzum in his words, or we'll say always mabni ala sukun, or mabni ala ma yanubu ala sukun. And then he dismisses as well the madi because he says it's maftuh al-akhir abadan. It's always maftuh al-akhir. So there's no need to discuss that. Those two are mabniyani. They're mabni. The one we have to discuss and focus on for the sake of i'rab, the science of nahu and i'rab, is what? The mudari'. That's our focus. So out of kalam, there's three basic types. Ismun wa fi'lun wa harf. We'll deal with the asma. That's our biggest task in the middle and throughout the book, from once we get finished with these af'al, these verbs. But right now, a few lessons on af'al. Af'al are three types: Madi, Mudari, and Amr. Amr and Madi are both mabni. Don't worry about them. We have to look at Mudari. And they are, here's the rule on the fi'l Mudari, as the author said, it's marfu' abadan. It's always marfu' hatta yadkhula alayhi nasib, until a nasib comes. A nasib is shay'un yansibuhu, something that makes it mansub. And there are 10 things that make a verb mansub, which is the very next lesson. So look at it. فَالنَّوَاسِبُ عَشَرَةٌ. Then, أو جازم, or something that makes it majzoom. Jazim الذي يجزمه, something that makes it majzoom. So then, the jawazim, the things that make the verb majzoom, how many are there? You've read ahead, you know there are 18. That's lesson 35. وَالْجَوَازِمُ ثَمَانِيَةَ عَشَرَةٌ. Notice, actually, that's lesson 35 and 36 together, because it continues over 2 pages. The 18 ahruf al-jazima, they are spread out over lesson 35 and 36. They're spread out there. And then you'll notice from lesson 37 to lesson 88, which is the end of the book, the focus is asma, all about nouns. So we're going to introduce these verbs, present tense verbs, with a very brief introduction. The huruf, the ahruf, an-nasb, wal-ahruf al-jazm. The things that come in front of a verb and make it mansub, and the things that come in front of a verb and make it majzoom. Then we're going to move on from that and really not return to it much at all, if at all. We're going to go into the nouns, and that's where the real fiqh of nahu is understanding those mansubat and all those nouns and why they are the way they are, how the sentence had an effect on this noun, why it is in the place it's in i'rab. That has the biggest impact on meaning. That's the most important study. So rightfully so, Ibn Ajurrum has made it the vast majority of the content of his book. And so we'll go from there. So we have a couple lessons in front of us, 3 lessons in front of us about the nawasib and the jawazim, things that make a fi'l mudari' and mansub, and things that make a fi'l mudari' majzoom. Those will be brief, insha'Allah ta'ala, and then we'll get into the asma. Any questions, concerns, comments about today's lesson? One more time, read the text. فَالْمَاضِي مَفْتُوحُ الْآخِرِ أَبَدًا. Past tense is always maftuh. It's always got a fatha. وَالْأَمْرُ مَجْزُومٌ أَبَدًا. And the fi'l amr is majzoom abadan. And others would say mabni ala as-sukun, or mabni abadan, always. وَالْمُضَارِعُ. Then the mudari' is what has one of those 4 letters. مَا كَانَ فِي أَوَّلِهِ إِحْدَى الزَّوَائِدِ الْأَرْبَعِ التي يجمعها قولك أنيت. It has one of those 4 letters that's in your statement, أنيت. ألف نون يا تا. وهو مرفوع أبدا. It's always مرفوع حتى يدخل عليه ناصب أو جازم, unless something makes it mansub or majzoom. Meaning, whenever you say فعل مضارع مرفوع, nobody will say لماذا. Just leave you alone. Of course, it's مرفوع by default. But when you say فعل مضارع منصوب, then someone will come and say وما ناصبه. What is it that made it mansub? You have to be able to identify how it became mansub, because it's an operation. Marfu' is by default. No proof needed. As soon as you say a verb is mansub, you have to bring proof. As soon as you say the verb is majzoom, you have to know why, and you have to be able to bring proof if you're going to analyze the i'rab and speak about it. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.